Hey guys, it's Heather and I'm with the Plot Genie, and today we are going to talk about how to pivot when plans change. Whether life gets in the way, whether you decide that a series is not earning up to its potential or it doesn't bring you joy anymore and you want to change, I have some tips on how to handle that. So, first, we're going to go into our 5 don'ts. So, the first don't is don't stress. Understand that life happens to everybody. You are not the only person going through what you're going through. Other people have had to find ways out of a situation or ways on how to prioritize their writing regardless. So, my advice to you, and I know it's so much easier said than done, right? Like your car broke down or your kid is at home from school now and because they're sick, and it's like, oh God, this completely throws my entire schedule off. For me, sometimes it's as simple as my alarm didn't go off, so I missed a whole hour of work time, and now I have to scramble to try to fit it in different places in my day. But just don't stress out about it. You are more than capable of handling things. You are a business person, you are an author. Things like this are going to come up. You've got this. Don't stress. Just remember not to stress, or try to. Again, so much easier said than done. But just something to think about, because stress isn't going to be conducive to the situation. It's not going to help you at all. Number 2, don't give up. Depending on the nature of the situation or the reason why you want to change or pivot, that isn't a reason to give up, or it's not an excuse to throw your hands up and be like, oh, this life isn't for me, or this business isn't for me, or I can't do this. What do you think happens in all businesses all the time? Plans change, things happen. We have to adapt to what's going on. So don't give yourself a reason to give up. Stick with it, go with it, and see what happens. You are so much more capable than you truly believe that you are. Number 3, don't go into victim mode. Excuse me. And what I mean by that is, don't look around and be like, oh, this always happens to me. Oh, something always comes up, or oh, I can never get ahead, or it's like the universe is telling me I'm not meant to be a writer. That's not true. Okay, that's not true. Just take a step back, realize you are not a victim, you are a creator. That's why you're a writer, right? You are a creator, okay? Situations are going to happen, as I said before. You've got this. You're not a victim. Don't start falling into that trap, because it's like it'll snowball and it'll just make everything worse. And then you kind of get that confirmation bias, right? So if you're like, oh God, this always happens to me, then things are always going to come up, because that is what you are choosing to see. Instead of other things like, oh, I could have written 300 words while I was waiting for my kid's class to open up, or whatever. Don't worry about that. Just know that life isn't happening to you. It's happening with you. And you have the power to control that. Don't give up. You've got this. Number 4, don't look for excuses. I'm not saying that what's going on is your fault. I'm not saying that this is something that you wanted. But if we don't own our choice, and sometimes that choice is to pivot, then we are never going to be able to move forward. And what I mean by that is, let's say it's as simple as, well, the series isn't bringing me joy anymore. And you could be like, well, my readers just hated the last book. Or I got so many bad reviews, or I'm not making the same money that I thought I would be making with this series. Those are all just excuses. If you don't want to write the book or the series anymore, you don't need those excuses. Just find something else. Now, they may contribute to why and where you are investing your time, and that's fair. I'm not trying to diminish a business decision and calling it an excuse. But if your heart is no longer in a series anymore, you don't need a reason to, you don't need to justify your decision. You're your CEO. You are your boss. And at the end of the day, as long as you are creating an environment of trust for your readers, you know what's best for your business and you know what's best for you. Don't look for any excuses to justify why you're making this change or why this change is sort of being forced upon you, just go with it and make sure that it's something that resonates with you. And the last thing is don't blame others. And this kind of goes into the don't look for excuses, but don't blame others for what's going on. Don't blame others if you can't find the writing time or if you're not inspired anymore or whatever. This happens to, let's just say, new moms, right? We get really overwhelmed. We get really stressed out because we now have a newborn baby. We're not sleeping as much. Or sometimes with our kids, oh, they have so many extracurricular activities. I'm going from here, and that's not even counting when I'm cooking dinner or helping them with homework. You don't want to start resenting other people for your inability to write. It's your job to find the time to write. It's your job to pivot. And I think that that's a really, really important message for a lot of these writers, because I watch a lot of vlogs and I love them and I appreciate the transparency. But during a lot of them, I see that they sort of explain, oh, I couldn't get to the words today because of this, or I couldn't do it because of that. We all have the same amount of time in our day. And even if it's 300 words down on a page, we can do it. And I'm not saying you need to do it every single day. And I'm not saying that people don't have a reason not to do it. I'm saying for every reason you don't have to do it, you have a bunch of reasons to do it too. So let's get into what you can do in order to make the pivoting process a lot easier. Number one, do take time to process what's going on. Whether it's something as big as you are now going to take care of an elderly parent versus your kid is home for school for a day, or even the summer, that is, you have to adapt to that, or even being a new mom, or just, I'm not going to write the series anymore. Take time to process it. Give yourself a couple of days, even if that means you're not touching the writing. You need time to figure out and settle it in your body and in your spirit. Does this work for me? Is this new plan feel good? Does it bring me joy? Does it bring me ease? Do I look forward to this new plan? Process it. And realize that you are strong, that you have a lot on your plate, but that you can handle it. You got this. Number two, do come up with a new plan. So regardless of what your situation is, regardless of how you need to adapt, you need to come up with a plan. Where does your writing fall into your new priorities? So many people say, well, my family has to come first, and that's fine. But your writing is also allowed to come up there with them. And again, I know I keep repeating myself, but it's like you can find the time. If you're dropping off your kid at school and you're early, type in your phone, like write on your phone, find that 300 words, That is not taking time away from your kid unless you read together in the car or something. You can do it at practice. You can do it if they have an extracurricular practice, whether it's band practice, whether it's sports practice. Read or write your book, If you have time to watch TV, if you have time to go on social media, if you have time to read, then you have time to write. So come up with this new plan that's going to work for you. And again, see how it settles inside of you. See how you feel about it and if you can do it. And sometimes that means cutting back the writing, but I'm begging you, don't give up the writing. There's a difference, and I think that it's really, really important to make that distinction. Number three, do test different things to see what works for you. So you could come up with a plan and it doesn't work. That doesn't mean you're a failure. That doesn't mean you're not supposed to be a writer. It just means you have to figure out something else. And you can. If you can figure out a bunch of different story ideas and make them all unique, even if it's an enemies to lover situation that you have in each single story, you can come up with a bunch of different plans on how to prioritize your writing. Number four, be realistic. So many authors think that they plan the way that they should be doing things instead of being realistic and being authentic to who they are as writers and who their family is and the situation that they are currently in their life. And what I mean by that is So many people think, oh, I need to write 5,000 words every day in order to make a big successful story or whatever, or a career. And then they get burnt out. And it's because that lifestyle of writing the 5,000 words a day is too stressful. You don't have to be what someone else thinks you should be. Be who you want to be. Find the joy in your plans, in your writing plan, whatever. Be realistic with who you are and what you want to achieve. For me, sometimes that's 3,000 words a day. Depending on the situation, that could be 1,000 words a day. That could be 500 words a day. When I used to work 36 hours at a police department, it was maybe like I could try to get in words during my lunch break and maybe 1,000 to 1,500 when I got home. It wasn't a lot, but my consistency helped me write the stories. I didn't stop. And that's what you need to do for yourself. Take a good look at what you are capable of doing right now. And if you can't write 5,000 words a day, who cares? Do what's best for you where you're not stressing, where writing doesn't become this obligation instead of this passion. And that's really, really important, but it's also your responsibility to figure out what is best for yourself. And finally, believe in yourself. Believe that you are capable of doing it. Believe in your stories, in your characters, and your writing, because giving up is someone might need your story. And I think that that's a beautiful thing. And to deprive them of that is sad. However, I don't think that you should take on this burden of responsibility either. You need to figure out again what's going on in your life. Why do you need to pivot? And is that going to affect your writing? And if it is, then maybe just take a break. But if writing is your passion, if it's something you would be doing whether you got paid for it or not, don't give up. Just find the joy and find the ease in whatever situation you're in. And if you can't, leave me a comment below and we'll work it out together, because I'm here for you, and that's why I do what I do. I want you to want to write and find happiness in it. So if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe, especially if you like these videos, and leave me a comment below. Like, what do you do when you have to pivot? What are some what are pieces of advice that you could give me, especially since I'm about to have a baby and I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to pivot. I would love to hear from you. Thanks for being here. Take care.